This man spent 25 years explaining why near-death experiences are not real. He wrote papers about it. He taught it to medical students at Harvard. He stood in operating rooms and watched people die and come back, and told their families what they experienced was not real. It was a hallucination, a dying brain producing its final electrical storm. He was certain. Then, on November 10th, 2008, at 4:30 in the morning, he woke up with a headache. 4 hours later, his brain had shut down completely. And for the next 7 days, the world's most qualified skeptic of near-death experiences was having one. His name is Dr. Eben Alexander. He trained at Duke University Medical School. He spent 15 years as a neurosurgeon at Harvard Medical School. He had operated on thousands of human brains, and he knew, with absolute scientific certainty, that consciousness was produced by the brain and only by the brain. Which is exactly why what happened to him is so difficult to dismiss. Stay with me, because the detail that changes everything comes at the end of this video, and once you hear it, you will not be able to explain it away. On November 10th, 2008, Dr. Alexander woke up feeling ill. He made it to the bathroom, and then his body began seizing. His wife found him on the floor, his eyes rolled back, his body convulsing. In the emergency room, a lumbar puncture revealed the cause. His cerebrospinal fluid, the fluid surrounding his brain and spinal cord, was full of pus. The diagnosis: acute bacterial meningitis caused by E. coli. The doctors looked at each other. This particular infection, spontaneous E. coli meningitis in a healthy adult, has an incidence of less than 1 in 10 million per year. It had essentially never been seen before in someone like him, and his brain was being eaten alive. Within 4 hours of his first symptom, Dr. Alexander was in a deep coma. His neocortex, the part of the brain that produces all thought, all consciousness, all human experience, had shut down. Not slowed down, not partially functioning. Shut down. His medical team contacted specialists at the University of Virginia, Duke University, and Massachusetts General Hospital. The consensus was the same. If he survived, and the probability was low, he would almost certainly never be himself again. His physicians gave him a 90% chance of dying. For 7 days, he lay on a ventilator. For 7 days, his family sat beside him. For 7 days, by every clinical measure, the part of Eben Alexander that made him Eben Alexander did not exist. Now, I need you to hold this fact in your mind for everything that follows. A brain with no neocortex cannot produce consciousness. A brain with no neocortex cannot produce dreams. A brain with no neocortex cannot produce hallucinations. This is not an opinion. This is the foundational principle that Eben Alexander himself had taught for decades. No neocortex, no experience. Nothing. This is what makes what he reported impossible. Because during those 7 days, he was somewhere else entirely. Dr. Alexander's memory of his coma begins in darkness, not peaceful darkness. A primitive, heavy, pulsating underground darkness. He described it as being buried deep in earth, aware, but without thought, without language, without any sense of self. He had no memory of being a doctor, no memory of being a father, no memory of being human. He was a single point of awareness in a dark, rhythmic underground world that he later described as the realm of the earthworm's eye view. And then, something changed. A spinning white light appeared above him. and it pulled him upward. What Dr. Alexander encountered above the darkness was, in his own words, impossible to express in language that was designed for a three-dimensional world. He emerged into what he described as the Gateway Valley. Flowers in colors that had no names, waterfalls tumbling into pools of crystalline light, thousands of beings in celebration, not religious figures, not angels with wings, beings of pure presence and joy. And he was carried on the wing of a butterfly. Beside him was a young woman. She was beautiful. She was radiant. She was completely unknown to him. She communicated without words, not through language, through direct transmission of meaning. And what she communicated was this: you are loved. You are cherished. There is nothing you need to fear. There is nothing you can do wrong. Dr. Alexander continued deeper, into what he called the core, where he experienced what he described as the source of all existence, an infinite presence of absolute love, absolute knowledge, absolute acceptance, which he could only refer to as Om. He asked the question every human being would ask: what is this? What is happening? What is real? And the answer came back: you have nothing to fear. There is nothing you can do wrong. And then, against his will, he was pulled back. He woke up on November 17th, 2008, 7 days after his brain had shut down. His eyes opened. His family wept. His doctors were stunned. His full cognitive recovery, his ability to speak, to think, to practice neurosurgery again, was, in their words, medically unprecedented. Now here is the part that changes everything. Are you ready for this?
4 months after his coma, Dr. Alexander received something in the mail, a photograph. It was sent by his biological sister, a sibling he had never met because he had been adopted as an infant. He opened the envelope and he stopped breathing. The woman in the photograph, the woman he had never met, the woman he did not know existed, was the woman on the butterfly wing, the woman who had guided him through the core, the woman who had told him, "You are loved, you are cherished, there is nothing to fear." He had never seen her face before his coma. He had no knowledge of her existence. She had died years before he found out she was his sister, and she had been with him in the one place that by every principle of neuroscience he had ever taught should have contained nothing at all. I will not tell you what to believe. I am not telling you this story as proof of heaven. I am telling you this story because Dr. Eben Alexander, the neurosurgeon who spent 25 years explaining why none of this was possible, does not know how to explain it. He has said publicly that he has searched his own neuroscience, the neuroscience of his colleagues, the most advanced models of consciousness in modern medicine, and none of them account for what he experienced. None of them account for a brain that produced no consciousness, recognizing the face of a sister it had never seen. The part of him that was built to explain this cannot. And he is the most qualified person in the world to try. Think about what that means. Not for him, for you. You have now heard 3 cases: Pam Reynolds, Patient 57, and Eben Alexander. 3 completely different people, 3 completely different circumstances, 3 completely different outcomes, but they share one thing. Every single one of them came back without fear. Not because they were convinced of something, because they experienced something directly. And whatever they experienced was enough. Subscribe. Because next week, we're going to the case that shook an entire research institution. A 7-year-old boy who remembered the details of a previous life, the name, the town, the house, the family, with enough specific accuracy that researchers at the University of Virginia spent years verifying each one and confirmed them. That case is next. You already know something most people spend their whole lives avoiding. That is not nothing. That is the beginning.